In this video, I will be critically analyzing artificial intelligence and digital language technologies from a digital humanities perspective. This discussion does not aim to promote AI tools. Instead, it examines how they reshape language, authorship, and knowledge production. My central question is simple: what happens when machines begin generating human language? Let us think about this. If a machine writes an essay, who is the author? Is it the human who typed the question, the programmer who designed the system, or the algorithm itself? This is not merely a technological issue, it is a question about meaning, authority, interpretation, and power. And that is why this topic belongs in digital humanities. Now, to understand this, we must first understand what digital humanities actually is. Digital humanities is not simply about using computers in literature or history. It is a field that studies how digital technologies affect knowledge, culture, and interpretation. In a new companion to digital humanities, Scriben, Siemens, and Unsworth explained that digital humanities does not replace interpretation but reframes it. This is very important. It means technology should support human thinking, but it should never replace human interpretation. Digital humanities insist that meaning is not mechanical. It is contextual, cultural, and human. Now, if interpretation must remain human, what happens when machines start producing language? To understand the impact of artificial intelligence, we must look at what David M. Berry calls the computational turn. Berry argues that we are no longer simply using computers, we are living inside computational systems. He writes, computation changes the conditions of possibility for knowledge itself. This means something very serious. It means technology is not just helping us think, it is shaping the very structure of how knowledge is produced. Earlier, knowledge was shaped by books, then by printing presses, then by mass media. Now, it is shaped by algorithms. When algorithms organize information, filter content, and generate language, they quietly influence what we see, what we believe, and what we understand. Artificial intelligence is not outside knowledge, it is now inside it, and that is why we cannot treat it as neutral. At this point, we must ask a deeper question. Does artificial intelligence truly understand language, or does it only appear to understand? David Berry gives us a very clear answer. He writes, computational systems simulate understanding without processing it. This distinction is extremely important. To simulate is not the same as to experience. Artificial intelligence does not feel confusion. It does not experience doubt. It does not remember childhood. It does not carry trauma, memory, or emotion. It calculates probability. It predicts the next word based on patterns in data. When we read a poem, we bring our life into it. When we interpret a novel, we bring history, culture, and emotion. When a machine generates language, it is not drawing from lived experience. It is drawing from statistical patterns. This is not intelligence. In human sense, it is simulation. And that difference matters deeply in the humanities. Language is not just a consequence of words. It carries memory, it carries history, it carries silence, it carries pain and joy. When we speak from experience. When we write from consciousness. In a new companion to digital humanities, Treiman and his colleagues reminds us human interpretation remains essential even in digitally mediated environments. This sentence protects something important. It protects the idea that meaning cannot be fully automated. Even if a machine can produce grammatically perfect language, it cannot live inside the meaning of that language. A machine may generate a poem, but it cannot feel the laws that inspired it. It may summarize a novel, but it cannot struggle with its moral complexity. That is why digital humanities does not reject technology. It simply insists that interpretation must remain human. Language is not just a consequence of words. It carries memory, it carries history, it carries silence, it carries pain and joy. When we speak from experience. When we write from consciousness. In a new companion to digital humanities, Treiman and his colleagues reminds us human interpretation remains essential even in digitally mediated environments. This sentence protects something important. It protects the idea that meaning cannot be fully automated. Even if a machine can produce grammatically perfect language, it cannot live inside the meaning of that language. A machine may generate a poem, but it cannot feel the laws that inspired it. It may summarize a novel, but it cannot struggle with its moral complexity. That is why digital humanities does not reject technology. It simply insists that interpretation must remain human. To understand the significance of artificial intelligence, we must step back and look at history. In Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari argues that the human societies have always been shaped by information networks, from oral storytelling to religious texts to printing presses to the internet. Each transformation in information changed the structure of society. Harari explains that control over information has always meant power, as he discussed in the opening chapters of Nexus. But then he makes a very striking observation. He writes, for the first time, non human systems participate actively in creating meaning. This is historically unprecedented. Earlier, technologies transmitted information. Books did not think. Printing press did not generate arguments, but artificial intelligence now produces language. It participates in meaning making, and that changes the structure of authorship, authority, and knowledge. This is not just technological progress, it is a transformation in the history of information. In the opening chapters of Nexus, Harari explains that societies are built upon information networks. On pages 7 to 10, he argues that those who control information shape collective beliefs, social order, and political power. Throughout history, religious institutions controlled manuscripts, states controlled printing, corporations controlled digital platforms. Today, algorithms control visibility. Artificial intelligence systems decide what content appears first, what information spreads, what narratives gain attention. These systems are not human, yet they influence human thought. When AI generates language, it is not only producing words, it is participating in the distribution of meaning. And when meaning is shaped by invisible computational systems, power becomes harder to locate and harder to question. This is why digital humanities must critically examine AI, because behind every algorithm there are structures of power. If artificial intelligence participates in creating meaning, then ethical questions naturally arise. First, there is the issue of bias. David Berry reminds us that computational systems are not neutral. They are built on data, and data reflects the social inequalities. If data contains bias, the output may also reproduce that bias. Second, there is the crisis of authorship. If a machine generates text, who is responsible for its meaning? The user, the developer, or the corporation? Harari on pages 114 to 115 of Nexus warns that when non-human systems create meaning, accountability becomes blurred. Third, there is over dependence. If students, researchers, and writers rely too heavily on automated systems, critical thinking may weaken. The humanities teach us to struggle with complexity, but AI often provides instant clarity. Convenience may slowly replace reflection, and that is a quiet but serious danger. In an age of artificial intelligence, some may ask whether the humanities are becoming irrelevant, but in reality, they are becoming more necessary than ever. Digital humanities does not reject technology, instead, it teaches to question it. As Scribeman and her colleagues remind us, digital humanities does not replace interpretation but reframes it. This means interpretation must remain human. Berry shows us that computation reshapes knowledge, and Harari wants that non-human systems now participate in meaning making. Together, these scholars remind us of something important. Technology can generate language, but it cannot carry responsibility. Technology can predict patterns, but it cannot feel ethical doubt. The humanities protect something fragile: critical thinking, moral reflection, and human interpretation. And in a world increasingly shaped by algorithms, that protection becomes essential. To conclude, artificial intelligence represents a major transformation in the history of information. As Harari explains, we are now living in a time when non-human systems participate in creating meaning. As Berry argues, computation reshapes the very structure of knowledge, and the scribeman and her colleagues remind us interpretation must remain human. Artificial intelligence is powerful, but it is not neutral. It does not possess consciousness. It does not experience moral responsibility. It does not live within history. Digital humanities therefore become a space of critical resistance. It asks not only what can technology do, but also what should it do, who controls it, and who remains accountable. In the end, technology may generate language, but meaning should remain a human responsibility.
ஸோ ஹாய், என்னோட பேர் சண்முகம். ஸோ நான் ஒரு ப்ரொஃபஷனல் வீடியோ எடிட்டர் அண்ட் வீடியோகிராஃபர். ஸோ பனிமலர் என்கிட்ட ஒரு நல்ல கொஸ்டின் கேட்டிருந்தேன். என்னென்னா, ஏஐ பற்றின என்னோடய தாட்ஸும் ஏஐ வந்து என்னோட ஃபீல்டை என்னென்ன இம்பேக்ட்ஸில் உண்டாக்குதுன்னு சொல்லி கேட்டிருந்தா. ஸோ ஏஐ பற்றின என்னோடய ஜென்ரல் தாட் என்னென்னா, அது ஒரு நல்லதும் கூட கெட்டதும் கூட, ஒரு டபுள் சைடட் ஸ்வார்டுன்னு தான் சொல்லணும். ஸோ அது மூலிமா நம்மளுக்கு நிறைய பெனிஃபிட்ஸும் இருக்குது, நிறைய ட்ராபேக்ஸும் இருக்குது. ஏஐ நம்மளோட ஒர்க்ஸை ஈஸியாக்குது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் திங். அண்ட் புது புது இனோவேஷன்ஸை மனுஷங்க யோசிக்கிறத விட ஃபாஸ்ட்டாக அதால் பண்ண முடியுது. மெடிக்கல் ஃபீல்ட்லேயும் ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுது. ஸோ சயின்ஸ் ஃபீல்டில் எல்லா ஃபீல்ட்லேயுமே அது ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுது. அண்ட் இதனால என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா, நம்ம ஹியூமன் நீடுன்றது அங்கே குறையுது. ஸோ ஜென்ரலாக நான் சொல்கிறது என்னென்னா, நம்ம ஃபஸ்ட்டு ஹியூமன்ஸ் தொடங்கினதுலேருந்து நம்ம போய் கம்பேர் பண்ணி பார்த்தோம்னா, நம்ம ஹியூமன்ஸ் தான் எல்லாமே பில்ட் பண்ணி சிவிலைசேஷன் பண்ணி எல்லாமே ஹியூமன்ஸ்க்காக தான் பண்ணோம். நம்ம உயிர் வாழணும், நம்மளோட நீட்காக தான் நம்ம எல்லாமே பண்ணோம். பட் அட் தி எண்ட் ஆஃப் த டே இப்போ என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு, வரவர் என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு, நம்மளே அதை ரிப்ளேஸ் பண்ணுது. ஸோ நம்மளோட கோர் பர்பஸ்ன்றதே அது மிஸ் பண்ணுதுன்னு நான் நினைக்கிறேன். என்னன்னா, ஒரு ஹியூமன் வாழ்கிறதுக்கு தான் நம்ம இவ்வளோ பண்ணிகிட்டு இருந்தோம். ஆனால் அது ஒரு ஹியூமனோட வாழ்க்கையை கெடுக்கிற நிலைமைக்கு போய்கிட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ இட்ஸ் அ பேட் அண்ட் குட் திங் தான் நான் சொல்லுவேன். என்னோடய ஃபீல்டை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இப்போது இருக்கிற ஏஐ வச்சு ஐ கேன் கிரியேட் மோர் க்ரியேட்டிவ் வீடியோஸ். ஸோ எனக்கு எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ணுறதுக்கு நிறைய இருக்குது. என்னென்னா, இது கொஞ்சம் க்ரியேட்டிவ் ஃபீல்டுன்றதுனால எங்களோட க்ரியேட்டிவிட்டிக்கு தான் ரொம்ப முக்கியத்துவமே தவிர ஸ்கில்ஸ் அதெல்லாம் ஒரு சைடில் இருந்தாலும் எங்களோட செல்லிங் பாயிண்ட்டே வந்து க்ரியேட்டிவிட்டி தான். ஸோ என்னோடய க்ரியேட்டிவிட்டி இன்னுமே அது பூஸ்ட் பண்ணுதுன்னு தான் நான் சொல்லுவேன். ஸோ அது எனக்கு இப்போ வரைக்கும் ஹெல்ப் பண்ணிட்டு தான் இருக்குது. நான் இன்னும் மோர் அண்ட் மோர் ஏஐ டெவலப் ஆனாலுமே ஒரு வீடியோவை கோராக கட்டமைச்சு ஒரு வீடியோவை ஃபுல் பேக்கட் கொடுக்குறது ஒரு எடிட்டரால் தான் முடியும். ஸோ அதுக்கு ஒரு க்ரியேட்டிவிட்டி வேணும், அது எங்ககிட்ட இருக்குது. ஸோ எனக்கு வந்து ஏஐ வந்து ஒரு பாசிட்டிவ் இம்பேக்ட் இது ஒரு கொடுத்துட்ருக்கு. இன்கேஸ் இன்னும் ஃப்யூச்சரில் ரொம்ப அட்வான்ஸாக போனால் மேபி இட்ஸ் மைட் பி அ ப்ராப்ளம் டு மீ அண்ட் மை ஃபெல்லோ எடிட்டர்ஸ். ஸோ அதான் என்னோடய தாட்ஸ். தேங்க்யூ.